Welcome back to Scale Auto Guys Workbench. Today we're working on a kit that I built the previous edition of it way back when it first came out. That will be featured in the Blast from the Past series in an upcoming video. But for today we're working on this 1988 Dodge Daytona Shelby Z from MPC. Now this has a pretty high parts content. I believe it said 154 parts. You can see the trees on the back here. And like I said, this kit came out about a year ago. It was repopped, according to the date here, 4/2/2025. So almost a year to the, well, a little bit over a year to the day. Now this kit comes with 3 different engine versions. You have a dual carbed V8 engine, a 4-cylinder turbo engine, or an intercooler turbo 4-cylinder engine. Here's the version with the V8 engine. It sticks out of the hood. I'll show you that in a section here in a second. So let's take a look at what came in the box. First up is the body. This body is pretty clean. It's nice and crisp. There is a couple of little, where they took it off the tree, a little spot right there. That's not a big deal. But other than that, it looks pretty clean. Inside of the body was the interior tub. Get your back seat molded in, the bottom at least. Got kind of a carpety kind of a texture there. Then your chassis, plain. That means that we're going to have to paint the exhaust, and that's great. I love when they have a separate exhaust. You guys know that if you've been watching my channel for any time. Now, one thing I did notice when I first pulled this out of the box, of course, like I said, this was inside the body. Look how nice and tight that the chassis fits to the body up here in the wheel well. There's no slop or play in that at all. So that's going to make putting that together really, really nice, because you can, that's an attachment point if you even need to attach. Next up is your dash and your wheel backs. Now the dash is kind of detailed, but there are decals that go in for your gauges and such. So that's kind of neat. Next up is your rear seat backs, door panels. I like when they're separate like this. You can detail them a lot better. This is one of your optional hoods. This is for the V8 version. It has the louvers on it. It also has a spot for a cutout for those dual carbs to stick out. Next up is your front fascia and rear bumper suspension parts. It gives you 2 different front drive axles. One is for your V8 version, the other one's for the 4-cylinder version. Transmission, firewall. This is your V8 block over here, all your V8 parts. Exhaust manifolds for the V8. Next up is your 4-cylinder engine. Well, engine halves, I should say. Now, it does come with the wide body panels and the optional front bumper, which I test fit that to the body, and I'm not sure. I may be looking at it differently or incorrectly, but it seems to me this would attach to the bottom of this, because this has your headlights and header panel, but this doesn't fit flush against this because this is slightly curved. This is slightly curved, but not slightly curved enough, so it doesn't fit flush. So I doubt that I'm going to use the wide body panels. I was thinking about it. I was really seriously considering it, but when I saw how that fit, I was like, I'm not so sure. I'll play around with it a little bit and, you know, see if it'll work. If it does, I'll use it. If it doesn't, well, then I'll just go with the stock body. Now on this other tree, you have some more 4-cylinder parts. I believe this is just the standard 2.2 liter block. The other was for the turbo. Your sunroof cover, seat backs, headlight covers. Now this does give you the option to have your headlights either up or down. I'm going to have the headlights down and closed. Gives you 2 different spoilers. This one here, and then you got the wraparound. Oh, I'm sorry, the wraparound. And this one has its own mounts back here, as well as this, obviously. And then the turbo hood. Now that's it for the plain styrene. Next up is your chrome tree. It gives you 2 different sets of wheels. It gives you stock wheels and these 4-spoke mags. I'm not sure if I like the look of those mag wheels. Stock wheels look pretty good, so I don't know, I'm not sure if which way I want to go with those. Gives you your 4-cylinder valve cover, V8 valve cover, and the dual carburetors. Your side pipes or lake pipes, if you know, depending on what part of the country you live on, or in, I should say. I always grew up knowing that these were side pipes. It wasn't until I reached adulthood that I learned that they had another name called lake pipes. So, whatever your preference is, there you go. Here's your headlights here for if you want the open headlights. Not sure if I'm going to do that. I don't believe I am. Anyway, next up are your 4 BF Goodrich Radial TA vinyl tires. They're very soft, so that'll be easy to insert your the rims. They are raised leather, so if you want to color those in and make them white leather, you can do so. And they also have the traditional, I don't know if it's going to focus there, the traditional tread pattern for the Radial TA. Hopefully that focused, I can't tell. Next up is your wraparound taillights in clear red, and your glass, which is 2 separate pieces, so you're going to have to trim those loose and glue them in. Now next up is the extensive decal sheet. It's got a lot of options on there. Your dash decals, your radio stack decals there. Gives you a lot of body side decals for that wild version. And then they give you red and black stripes that go around the waist of the body, I guess you could call it. It wraps around on the front and the sides. I'm not sure how effective those are going to be, considering the color that I've chosen for this car. I may end up having to like black chrome those in, because I've chosen this Deco Art Garnet Red for the paint color. Now hold on a second. Let me shake it up so you can see. Bring that paint up. I'm going to go with this, and I think I'm going to do a two-tone, or maybe in this case a three-tone, because this is black up here. The roof is black and around the doors. I'm thinking garnet red on the top, silver on the bottom. Not 100% certain on that yet, but that's kind of the way I'm leaning. I might just go straight garnet all the way around. I don't know yet. Haven't made up my mind. Last thing that was in the box is your assembly instructions. It gives you the instructions on how to build the 4-cylinder turbo engine with the intercooler, or without. This is with it, this is without it, I believe. Gives you assembly instructions for the V8 engine. And on the back, your final assembly instructions and your suspension and interior tubs. Now this would be with the custom version with all the wild striping and decals. I don't know that I'm going to go that route. That's a little too busy for me. Alright, that's all that came in the box with this kit. Need to get some sub-assemblies done. I need to sit down and figure out, am I going to be doing it the 4-cylinder with the intercooler, without the intercooler? I don't think I'm going to do the V8 version. I kind of like building it the way it looks on the box there, but just a different color. Like I said, I built this when they first popped this out, way back in 88, 89, something like that, when they first come out with this kit. And there was a couple of mistakes I made on that build that I am not going to do with this one. So let's get these sub-assemblies done. Let's head over to the paint booth, lay down some primer, and we'll go from there. Stay tuned, guys.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Alright fellas, I've been working on this engine, and there are a ton, let me adjust my light here, there are a ton of little tiny parts that go to this engine. Now once you get the engine block together, that's the easy part. That's a separate piece, that's a separate piece, that, and this are all separate pieces. Of course that's a separate piece. That is separate, that's separate, that's separate. This piece here is separate, this piece here is separate. And I'm not even done with this engine yet. I still have to do the intercooler parts and all the little pipings and what have you. There is a lot to this engine. And to make matters all that much worse, see how tiny and not very well, let me get this a little bit closer here. I don't know if that's going to focus or not, but you can see how small and very light those numbers are stamped into the parts tree. And some of these parts go to the regular turbo engine, some of them go to the V8, some of them go to the turbo intercooled engine, which is what I'm building, is the turbo intercooled. And it's not, my eyes are going crossed on me trying to read those part numbers, and it's not as simple as, say, a V8 engine in, I don't know, a Camaro or something like that. That's pretty easy to build. I can do it with my eyes closed, and this one here is a bit more difficult. It's not, I mean, it's, don't get me wrong, it's not impossible, not incredible, it's not, it just has a lot of small parts. And the small parts are the thing that makes it a little bit more difficult. Alright, let me get this finished up. And then we'll move on. I think the next step after the engine is doing the chassis and driveline work, and that's coming up. So let me get this finished up. Still have to do the intercooler. I still have to paint the intercooler. That's on this tree here. Well, actually this part, these hoses. So it's a lot of little fiddly things. Once you get through them, it's a pretty easy process. So I'll be right back. Alright fellas, I'm just doing the finishing touches on the engine here. You see I have the intercooler all hooked up. There is one little part that snuck in on me, and it's this little hose, this little pipe. Well, the directions, surprisingly enough, don't show how this thing's supposed to go in there. Now where that hooks is on the back side. Let me get something to point with. On the back side of the turbocharger, right in this area here. And it comes across the transmission and comes out over here. Well, if you look at this closely, you see it's kind of curved here and flat, where it would like plug into something this way. And this side is the same way. Like I said, the direction sheet does not show how this part goes, or this piece goes in there. If you go in, and it's hard to do now because I screwed up. If you go in here, it's angled the wrong way. If you flip it around, it's kind of angled the right way. can get it in there. But the it's not angled in the really close to where you can get it into the turbocharger. That's about as close as you're going to get it. And then it kind of sits out here kind of weird. Let me see. I've been futzing around with this thing for about I don't know, 15-20 minutes trying to figure out which frickin' way that thing goes in there. It doesn't show clearly on the direction sheet. Let me angle this here. Okay, it's this part right here, and it just shows a squiggly line, you know, says it's a hose. Part 41 goes to the turbocharger. Now, yes, granted, I should have put that on first, but for some reason I was looking all up here at all the stuff that needed to go up here and concentrated on this. Didn't see that until all of this was in place. So, this is where we're at. By all intents, with that hump the way it is, it would look like it goes over the transmission, and that's what I'm inclined to believe. But the way that end is angled, it doesn't look like it'll go in there like that. Unless maybe it goes like that. Yeah, that's probably it right there. Okay, now that that's over with, another thing I want to tell you guys about, and you're going to find this out when you build this, on the parts trees. I don't know if you're seeing this. Let me put in a little bit more light on it. Part 97, right? Can you see that? Part 97. What's that part? That's part 97. What's that part? Part 97. So there's 3 parts listed as 97. You see where the confusion is? How do you know you got the right part 97? It's a guessing game. Whoever laid this out did not do a very good job at it. So, yeah, here we are. Okay, let me get this thing glued in place. Hopefully, whatever these hook to matches up when I put it all together. I imagine it's probably an intercooler of some sort. Probably something like this. That looks like an intercooler. Let me see here. Yep, that's the intercooler, part 42. That goes against the side of the radiator, it looks like. Or as part of it in some fashion. That's a couple steps away. But, yeah, that's the intercooler. So hopefully that lines up with that. This engine is quite the pain in the butt. Enough of my complaining. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I just wanted to point this stuff out to you so you're aware of it when it comes time for you to build this kit. Now I'm starting to think maybe I should have went with that V8 option. It would have been a lot easier. Okay, let me get this done. Let's get on to the next step. All right, fellas. This this was one of the more difficult engine compartments I've ever done. I wouldn't say it's horrible, but the parts are small and they're hard to deal with, and I'm still not 100% certain that I've gotten everything the way it needs to be, because the instruction sheet is not that great. To be honest, it's not great. What I ended up doing is I glued the intercooler to those lines. That way they were sort of where they needed to be. The problem is this is supposed to sit up a little bit higher than where it is, but if I push it up any higher, then it throws everything else off. So I'm just going to leave it just like that. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to get all this stuff together. Now on the bottom side, I've got the front and rear suspension done and the exhaust system done. For once, the exhaust system lined right up to the exhaust pipe. Perfect. The shocks, what I did is I glued them into the axle and then dropped the whole axle in place. And the shocks go into little holes down here in the fenders. Once you get those lined up, this will pop right into place. No problems. The rear axle is easy. This little, what would you call it? The sway bar. The sway bar went in there pretty easily, so that wasn't an issue either. The hardest part, really, was this intercooler piping. All of that was the most difficult of it all because, and like I said, I don't think I have it right, but that's the way it goes. And it doesn't help that the part numbers were, 3 parts, same number. It's just confusing. So anyway, that's done. Now let's move on to the interior. I still have to paint that. I haven't decided on a color yet. With the garnet and silver body, I'm thinking maybe a red sort of interior. Maybe the Tuscan red, or I don't really want a bright red. Yeah, let me think on that. Be right back. Alright fellas, I got the interior done. It's very red. But then again, back in the 80s and 90s, this is what car manufacturers were doing. They were just, they'd develop a color and they would run with it. General Motors was a big offender of it too. Probably the biggest offender. But yeah, I could have went with a black interior, but honestly, that would have been kind of plain. Here I've got kind of a two-tone look going here. What I did is I used a little bit of black, a little bit of gloss black. The Tuscan red, which is a matte color, I use that for the floor. And I use raspberry wine for the seats. And once that paint dried, I hit it with a coat of future floor polish. And of course you clean your brushes with ammonia. Ammonia cuts that future floor polish like it's not even there. So there you go. So the future floor polish gives the seats a little bit of a shine, brings out that color a little bit more, and the matte color for the floor is a very good simulator for carpet. So there's the interior. I still have a little bit of work to do on the body. Once I'm done with that, we can move on to doing the final assemblies, putting the glass in and that kind of thing. So there you go, along with the chassis. Alright, let's get started on that body. Alright fellas, this is the dangest way I've ever seen to put a windshield in. Most of them either go in from the outside go in from the inside. This one does both. I messed around with this. If you look at the bottom of the windshield here, you'll see like molded in windshield wipers. Well, obviously that goes to the outside, but if you put it on the outside, there's a lip on the top of the windshield here. Well, that doesn't go on your roof, obviously. So I had to take my sanding stick there, and I had to sand a little bit off the corner of the windshield glass, whatever you want to call it, just to get it to fit into here like this, so that you have to fiddle with it to get it to kind of go up into place. So it's partially on the outside here, but it's totally on the inside at the top. So I was just kind of test fitting it. I was going to do the trim around the frames and stuff, and I thought, you know what, I am not messing with that. I've got the glass in there, and the heck with that black trim. So, and I got to clean the fingerprints off the glass now. But yeah, I had to mess around with this for the longest time to get that to pop up into place. So, just so you have a heads up on this, if you haven't built this car yet, now you know. So I'm going to put a little piece of Scotch tape on that to hold that in place. I'm going to set some glue in there, and hopefully it doesn't springboard back out. Now yes, I did not do the headliner yet. I was going to do that, then I got going on this window and thought, you know what, I'm just going to stay with that. So what that tape does is hold that window in place. Once the glue is in, and I always use the Mod Podge, you guys know that, I always use this Mod Podge. Once this is set, I can take the tape off, then I can paint the headliner. Now the rear glass, it shows in the direction sheet to remove the side glass, and it does kind of flip-flop around on there. But I haven't cleaned up the part where it was on the tree. But that fits in there beautifully, just like that. And I can just tape and glue those in place. And there you are. The windows are in. I don't know that... now this does have... excuse me. It does have the trim around the back here and on the sides. Not so much on the windshield, so I'm not really going to worry about the windshield. Now on the reference pictures that I had downloaded to look at, the area around the side window was black as well. Some pictures have the entire roof black, some pictures don't. So I think I'll take I got that black chrome, but it's going to be hard to put it in here. So what I think I'm going to do is just take a black Sharpie, go around all of this. I'm not very good at using the black Sharpie. That's why I try to avoid it as much as I possibly can. But in this case, I don't have much of a choice. So let's give it a whirl. I'll move the camera so you don't have to see the top of my head, or so that it doesn't get in the way. I think the reason why I'm not very good at doing this with the Sharpie is I haven't had a whole lot of practice at it, for one. If it was a paintbrush and I had a little bit more surface area to work with, I can do a straight line all day with a paintbrush. I guess that looks okay. Ish. Okay-ish. I'm just going to get the sides here real quick. Alright, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but I guess it looks okay. It's going to be kind of tough to get the side one because of the spoiler. I might just leave that. Whew. All right. That's about as good as it's going to get. Alright guys, I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to stop the camera for a minute. Let me get this all done, and we'll come back. Alright fellas, I got the glass in. I got the trim work done. I even went and put some bare metal foil on the back end so the taillight assembly would have a little bit of reflective. Here comes the tricky part. Now I've already test fitted this, but when you go to put the firewall in, it goes in from the top. Don't assume that it's just going to fit and then you paint it and then you realize, maybe it's not going to fit. I had to scrape a little off on each side here. It was just a little too tight. But it goes in kind of like that. Then you kind of pull it down into place. And there it is. Now of course you're going to want to glue that in there. I just kind of fit it in there to show you how it slides down in. It kind of goes in and wraps around, as you can see in the bottom here. That's not fun because now you can see where it's not painted, but yeah, it's inside the wheel well. Maybe you won't be able to see it. The glass went in fairly well, with the exception of the windshield, and I already showed you all that. We're at the step where things like the taillights go on and the rear bumper goes on. But see what a difference that bare metal foil makes on the tail light assembly, how that's really kind of bright. Without that foil in there, it would be like this, you know, imagine that against the body, it's kind of dark. Unless that's what the look you're going for. For me, I kind of like the reflectiveness of the foil being in there. Okay, well, we're coming into the final assemblies. I got a little bit of decal work to do, and that's about it. So I'll see you at the final. Welcome to the final on this 1988 Dodge Daytona Shelby Z by MPC. Let me first start off by saying that this kit was fun to build and frustrating to build all at the same time. The engine has very small parts, and that is the way it should be. But with my fat fingers, it added a degree of challenge just to not give the parts up to the carpet monster. That turbo intercooler was a bit of a challenge getting into place, but other than that, everything else went together with ease. In the end, everything went together the way that it should be. I thought I was going to have trouble with hood clearance, and well, as you can see, the hood sits down just like it's supposed to. So let me put it like this. The two things that took the most time was the paint job and putting that tiny little engine together. So on final assembly, let me give you some advice here. And I didn't show this on video, and I probably should have. But in section 10 of the instruction sheet, it shows installing things like mirrors, taillights, windows, and the rear bumper. Let me suggest to you right here that you skip the bumper, the rear bumper installation on this step. And the reason for it is because when you get to step 12, you have to insert the chassis into the body. In order to get the chassis in, you have to spread the rear quarter panels just behind the back tires. You got to spread that out just a little bit so the chassis will slide into place. If you have that bumper on there, it wraps around and attaches to little tabs right in that area. Well, if you have the bumper on there, it's going to restrict how far you can open those quarter panels up, and it's going to make it more difficult to get the chassis inside. Also, there's 3 decals that go on the back of the car. One of them obviously is the license plate. The other one is the Dodge brand logo on the driver's side, and the Daytona Z logo on the passenger side. If you have that big bumper already attached, well, now you got to fight, because it goes right in that little area below the taillight. If you have that bumper in the way, now you got to fight the bumper to get the decals in there. So I suggest you put the decals on first, then after you get the chassis and everything in, put that bumper on last. It'll save you a lot of frustration. So let me tell you a little story. The entire time I was building this kit, I was starting to have flashbacks about, did I build this car before a long time ago? I don't remember. Little aspects of it kept coming back to me, like, yeah, you built this before, but I don't remember seeing it in the display case. So one night I was going in. I shoot several different videos at the same time. So while I was waiting for the paint to dry, I went in and got a couple of cars off the shelf to do my next Blast from the Past series video. And there it was. The original build of this kit was staring me right in the face. So I got it down and I looked at what I had built back in, I think the original kit was issued in like mid to late 87 for the 88 model year, and I think I built it right around that time. And so I grabbed that, compared that to this, and yeah, it's the same exact car, exact same car as it should be. But the build quality, that's where the big difference was. And let me tell you, this one looks a lot better than that one did. I don't know why there's such a difference. I mean, same car and everything, but I'm not going to show you that original build here. I'm going to add it as a Blast from the Past video coming soon. I'll do a comparison between that build
and this one, and you guys would be like, wow, what a difference. Trust me, there is a difference. So another build video's done. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and click that thumbs up, share, and hype buttons. It tells the YouTube algorithm that the folks like yourself are enjoying my content. If you have any questions or comments, of course, please write those in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to respond to you as soon as possible. You can follow me on Facebook, or if you like, you can drop me a line at scaleautoguy@gmail.com. I love reading your emails and your comments. Throw them at me, guys. If you want more videos like this one, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so that you'll be notified when I post new videos. Thanks for watching Scale Auto Guy's Workbench, and I'll see you on the next build.